If there was this one skill set that we could use that would just, help us deal with change, help us deal with uncertainty, whatever might come our way, I wonder what are some of those things could be. And that one of the things that comes to mind is really the different dimensions of our ability to manage our emotions, our ability to manage the change. And part of that is the emotional intelligence that's behind it. And of course, there's different parts to it. So Yvonne, I'm curious from your side, like where do you think people should start when it comes to like embedding this skill into ourselves?
Elena, one of my favorite to start is the level of self-awareness that we should be acquiring. So it is important to know how your own actions will affect the people around you and what can be the consequences. But one of the most interesting things is if we look at how the brain works. In fact, the part where we store the knowledge that we have about ourselves is on one side of the brain, and the actions that we need to produce because of this knowledge are in the other part of the brain. So it is almost like two things that are completely disconnected in our brain. And the crazy thing is that with a little bit of practice, with a little bit of habit creation, we can start making the connections from the both sides of the brain so that we can link, I know about myself, to I need to do this action. And this is super important. Self-awareness also means that you know your specific strengths and weaknesses, and it provides you with the ability to delegate effectively, and of course, passing specific projects to specific individuals with the right strengths is the key to create and empower your environment around in the workplace. So self-awareness is almost like this secret weapon that you have that needs to be practiced in order to connect what you know about yourself and the actions that you should be doing. And what about you, Elena? What do you think? What is your favorite one?
Listen, self-awareness is probably top of the list. If anybody knows me, they know I always talk about self-awareness, and it's like this continuous journey. I think it's the base of it all. But another big part, and something that I've learned over the years, is empathy. So empathy in a sense of not just like putting yourself in the other person's shoes, but try to imagine, where that person might be coming from. Like when we see people behave or communicate in specific ways, right? Just to give a moment and almost giving them like benefit of a doubt, like try to put yourselves in their shoes to understand what is the perspective that they're coming from. Just trying your best to understand, right? We don't have to accept it, but we should try to understand where that other person is coming from. And I think that's also magical, because oftentimes when we get into conflicts or different situations with people, or somebody does something that we're like, why did they do that? We don't really necessarily ask the why. We just go into judgment mode, like, oh, this person did this because X, Y, and Z. And 9 out of 10 times, that's not why they did or said or have, behaved in that specific way as to what you think. It's usually something different. And I think that if we're able to take a moment and like just take a step back and take a moment to really empathize with them on that level, I think that we can lead much more effective workplaces, have much stronger relationships, and just avoid a lot of unnecessary drama.
Elena, what you just said made me think about the study that I think it was 2 years ago, but I'm not really sure. Is Harvard Business Review who published this study where there was a comparison of the main dimensions of leadership, and where, in fact, in 90% of these dimensions of leadership, women were outpacing men big time. And the main reason being this sense of empathy that women have already in them. It is something, of course, that it can be worked out in a regular basis. And the crazy thing is that they have done like a new research based on the same sample of people to see what happens in moments of crisis. So moments like during COVID. And the gap between men and women has increased because women are better at managing teams during moments of crisis. So the empathy this element of empathy, it is such an important element, especially in moments of uncertainty where we need to interact with people. It has become so important, and this is the moment where women have been thriving. We have the example not only from people in the governments, like what happened in Germany, what happened in New Zealand, what happened in Finland, women in power, Korea, Taiwan, what happened in power, and they have been pulling it out better than men. Wow.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes. Now, I wanted to get back to this story about connecting with others. So negotiation, persuasion is one of the most important elements for anyone who wants to be in a successful, thriving professional career. And it becomes easier if you can create meaningful connections with people around you. By creating this connection, in fact, you are empowering them. You are making them more motivated. You are creating a hub of innovation. You are disrupting the way, in fact, if intelligence can just improve things, it's almost like the element of emotional intelligence can disrupt things, because you are able to create a network of ideas, connecting ideas that are not really connected at the beginning by these interactions with your team, and you can pull out the best out of them in good times as well as moments in crisis. So connecting with others is an element that is quite critical in the elements of emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. And I guess the last one we can touch base on in this part that comes to mind is the flexibility, right? Our ability to sort of adapt and be flexible, and, no matter what kind of comes our way. And essentially it's just perspective change. So I think that's flexibility, and being able to adapt and to be flexible. It comes down to, are we able to see opportunities instead of challenges, or opportunities in challenges, right? Especially in challenging times, like what are we doing to, what are we doing to sort of see things see things that maybe are not there, right? But sort of create almost opportunities. And it's not just about positive thinking, but just more of like optimist, looking at how can we make something that can, add value out of whatever we're going through, add value either to our businesses, to our personal lives, to whoever we interact with. And I think being flexible is just about just changing that mindset, that, just going with it, going with the flow.
Most important thing about all what we say, Elena, I must say, it is about the recurrent practice of these elements. I think we had 4. It is something that can be practiced. Our brain is made to learn in a continuous manner, to adapt to changes. And let's just start a little step, one step at a time, right?
Right.